Um, can't sleep, so I decided to do a live stream, and hopefully somebody will come in, but if not, I've got some stuff to talk about. Today I'm going to be talking about evolution versus abiogenesis. Because I minored in anthropology, I know a lot more about human evolution than I do about any other kind of evolution, and I know more about evolution than I know about abiogenesis. That being said, I want to talk to the Christians a moment. Get out of your mind this idiotic division that Kent Hovind just made up about evolution, because his divisions are not correct in the least. He first says cosmic evolution. Cosmic evolution is not evolution. I'm probably going to say this more than once. Something cannot evolve unless it is alive. The cosmos is not alive. Therefore, it cannot evolve. The name for what Kent Hovind calls cosmic evolution is the Big Bang. I'm not going to cover it today or tonight, but I will cover it sometime. The second is chemical evolution. Again, this is not evolution. The correct term for this is nucleosynthesis. The third wrong type that he has is planet and stellar evolution, which again is wrong. And the correct term is planetary and star formation. Again, I'm not going to cover that. The next one is, the next one is organic evolution, which again is not evolution, because something has to be alive in order to evolve. This is what is called abiogenesis, and I will be talking a bit about this. The next two are just evolution, and he goes into this entire thing of macro and micro evolution, but they are just evolution, because macro evolution is just a lot of micro evolutions. It's a lot like if you move a couple of inches, eventually you're going to move a mile. That's my illustration for this point. So it doesn't really make any sense whatsoever to differentiate between microevolution and macroevolution, because there is no difference. So now, getting into the I don't know whether you're going to be able to see this or not. I'm not sure, but I will go ahead and talk while I'm doing this thing. There was an experiment done okay. There was an experiment done back in the 50s, I believe, about, it was called the Haldane experiment, or there was another scientist also, and Haldane, and it's hyphenated, but I can't remember the experiment name right now. But anyway, they did an experiment in which they pretty much decided that they were going to go with the non-living proteins that they thought existed in the early Earth, on the early Earth. Sorry, I'm getting hot. That they thought existed on the early Earth. Well, this experiment has been replicated with different proteins. So it's not just one experiment, it is a ton of experiments with different proteins. And we know that in the lab, if we have certain proteins, that if we have a trigger, say a spark of electricity, in the Haldane experiment, this simulated lightning, that these proteins would then form into chemical bonds, which would then proliferate and, make the living world. Right now we have a hypothesis, and it's just a hypothesis, that RNA came first, because RNA is a lot simpler, and then DNA came along second. Now, RNA is simpler than DNA. It's also more unstable than DNA, because DNA is a double helix, whereas RNA is just a single strand. So we believe, scientists believe, that nature figured this out. When I say figure, I'm anthropomorphizing nature, but nature is not a being. Okay, so basically nature, even though we still have RNA, nature chose DNA as the building block of life because RNA is unstable. So we've got RNA first, then we go to DNA. And like I said, this is still a hypothesis. It's not a theory or anything, it's just a hypothesis. And then from there is where we get into the first living creatures that are very simple, single-celled organisms, and then from there proliferate into not even multicellular organisms, but just colonies of single-celled organisms. And then from the colonies of single-celled organisms, we then go on to multicellular organisms, the simpler multicellular organisms, and then from there we go on to more complicated multicellular organisms. We've got abiogenesis, which is the study of exactly how life began. And like I said, we don't really know a whole lot about abiogenesis. We do have some experiments that give us an inkling of how abiogenesis may have started. But evolution, however, is on much stronger footing, and in fact it is a theory. And one thing that I hear Christians say about evolution is, oh, it's just a theory. Well, I've got some bad news for you. The fact that evolution is a theory is a point in its favor, because when we are talking about scientific theories, we are not talking about, say, cop theories, where the police are solving a crime and they're gonna make an educated guess, or they're gonna hypothesize about how a crime went down. In science, a theory is made up of laws, and laws are made up of facts. And theories actually have predictive power. If evolution was not true, we would not have vaccines, because vaccines work on the principle of evolution. Now, I did say I know more about human evolution because I have an anthropology minor. Yes, I do. And for that, you might want to see my series on the human revolution and our path to religion. I try to, because my channel is mainly about religion, I try to tie things into religion and how our brains evolved way back from we cannot say that Ardipithecus ramidus is our ancestor. We cannot say that. The best we can say is Ardipithecus ramidus is on the tree or on the bush, but we cannot say that it is our ancestor. The first species we can actually say probably is our ancestor is Homo erectus. So then you've got Homo erectus, and then you've got a lot of Homo species running around at the same time. So there's a bunch of human species running around at the same time. And what I want to know from you Christians out there who don't think that evolution is true, which evolution absolutely is true, by the way, why have there been so many human species running around in our past? And also, we have Neanderthals, and we have extracted DNA from Neanderthals. Neanderthal DNA is closely related to, but not human DNA. Now, some humans, especially Europeans, have up to 5% Neanderthal DNA. Asians have up to 5% Denisovan DNA. Okay, the Denisovans were also a human species living over in Asia. So my question for you is, if you do not accept that evolution is true, how do you explain that we have Homo sapien DNA and Homo neanderthalensis DNA, and Asians, some Asians at least, have Denisovan DNA? Because these are 3 separate DNAs. They've been sequenced. They are separate DNAs. So that's the question you have to answer. If you do not accept evolution, you must answer these questions. And if you don't, and you won't be able to because you can't, because evolution is true. Evolution is a fact, and there is no way that you can get away from it. Look it up. I'm not kidding you. And please, don't use Wikipedia. Wikipedia is not a source. Okay? It just isn't. There are wonderful sources out on the internet that you can use. Wikipedia isn't one of them. You can look up Encyclopedia Britannica. You can look up the Smithsonian Institute. You can look up archaeological sites, websites, not sites as in, on the ground sites. But these are all wonderful things that you can look up. And they're there for you. Some of them are in what I would consider vernacular English. Others are a bit more complicated because they involve scientific terms. Now, a lot of Christians have a problem with scientists using scientific terms, or as Kent Hogan would call them, big words. The reason scientists use scientific terms is because scientific terms are more accurate than vernacular terms. For instance, we can say humans. That is the vernacular. But when a scientist says Homo sapiens, that is more accurate than humans, because even though we are the only human species on Earth today, there were human species in our past. So Homo sapiens is much more accurate than just saying humans. And yes, I know that scientific terms can be big words, and sometimes they're Latin, and sometimes they're Greek, and sometimes they're French, and sometimes they're German, and they can be really confusing at times, and you can barely pronounce them at times. But there is a reason we have scientific terms. And like I said, it is because we can be much more accurate with these scientific terms than we can with vernacular English. And that's just the way it is, you know. Anyway, I hope this has helped some. Like I said, I don't know a whole lot about abiogenesis. There are people who have made it their life's mission to find out more about abiogenesis. I certainly don't know a whole lot about abiogenesis. I do know that the experiments have proven, at least in the lab setting, that it is possible. Now, I will say this. I myself am agnostic. But I do not I accept the fact that there may be a deistic God or a Zeus-like God. Sorry, Eliakai. I know that's not how the Greeks pronounce his name, but I have no idea how to pronounce his name, so I'm just going to say Zeus. So a deistic God, a Zeus-like God, I leave room for gods and goddesses like that. I don't have a problem with that. I don't know if they exist. But if gods and goddesses like that do exist, they're not really relevant to our lives, are they? That's my take on it. Anyway, please subscribe to my channel if you want to know why I don't believe in the Christian God anymore. My channel will explain it for you. And I have a lot more to do on my channel. And I know I do. And I'm probably never going to get everything done that I want done on my channel, just because there's so much to cover. But, hopefully people will find my channel and they will, at least look at my channel and say, okay, point taken. If you decide to go on being a Christian after you've watched some of my videos, doesn't bother me any. I really don't care what you believe. I only want you to know the truth. And the truth is that your leaders have lied to you. And they may not even know they're lying, because these lies have been going on for so long. And I was so upset when I found out that I had been lied to for my entire life. That's why I started my channel. I started my channel to try to get the truth out there. And if you accept the truth, fine. If you don't accept the truth, fine. I really don't care. I really don't. You know, you believe what you believe. Doesn't bother me any. Anyway, I will get off now. I just wanted to come on and say a few things that were on my mind, and I will catch you later. Bye.